All right, so based on all the conversation that has gone on, I think the likelihood of a very successful program this afternoon of engagement and involvement and conversation is very high based on all the conversation that's been going on. So I'm Greg Rhodes, Dean and Director of the Ohio State University at Marion. It's my pleasure to welcome you here, to thank you for navigating our mess out there. As you saw, the northern end is under construction, so we're working on putting what I think is, and somebody maybe can say I'm not right on this, but what I think is the first and only traffic circle in Marion County. Is that? Does anybody know another one that's out there? Okay, so we'll have that in the fall, and a lot of other stuff going on. So thanks for wandering in here today around the loop a little bit. Also, thank you for taking time from your regular activities to come here today to help brainstorm about how to grow and strengthen the middle class in support of Ohio State's engagement with the Alliance for the American Dream Initiative. From my perspective, Ohio State Marion is a perfect place for us to do this work today. We describe ourselves as an opportunity campus where open admissions and our student support efforts in the classroom and outside of the classroom are, and I should mention also our $1.1 million of annual scholarship support for students. All these things help us provide access and fill one of Ohio State's land grant mission, one piece of it, giving individuals the opportunity to lift themselves, lift their families, and lift their communities. We know that a direct correlation exists between education and income, but we also know there are a number of other factors as well that play a role, and I'm sure those will come out over the course of the conversation today. We're very lucky to have President Drake here with us today, and I should mention that he has really championed access to higher education as a pillar of Ohio State and as a critical element of Ohio's future economic and social development. So he has been very vocal in this, but also I think it's important for us to realize he's followed that talk up with significant action. For example, the President's affordability grants provide need-based funding for middle and lower income students. The recently announced Buckeye affordability grants will fill the final gap in funding for students who are Pell eligible to make it possible for them to cover the full cost of tuition and fees. And to help narrow the digital divide and build student skills, the Digital Flagship Initiative with Apple provides iPads for all new first-year students coming in this fall. So all of these things are things that are intended to help move society, move individuals, move families upward. But I should also say that I think Marion is a perfect place for us to do today's work as well. Our community has a number of educational opportunities available for students to lift themselves. In addition to Ohio State Marion, we have Marion Technical College that shares the campus with us. And just down the road, we have Tri-Rivers Career Center that engages major educational opportunities for students and for adults. And so we have up and down State Route 95 or Mount Vernon Avenue an education corridor that's developed to help move these things forward. And our community is working hard to advance economic and social development through all kinds of organizations, including Marion Can Do, which is the Economic Development Agency, United Way, Creating Healthy Communities Coalition, and the Marion Made Community Pride Initiative being spearheaded by the Marion Community Foundation. So I think the folks in this room today are primed to move this conversation forward and to help offer thoughts and ideas about how to achieve the goals of the Alliance for the American Dream Initiative. Next, I'd like to introduce my co-host for today, Tom Quaid, who's Marion's Public Health Commissioner, to talk a little bit about some initiatives in the community. Thanks, Tom.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm only going to take just a few minutes, and then I want to introduce Dr. Drake and then get right into the work of the day. I was happily surprised when I got the phone call to see if I'd be interested in having Marion Public Health or myself co-host this event. It didn't take me but just a moment to say yes. I don't know if they understood why I said yes so quickly. But when we think about the health of the community, population health, it's inextricably linked from essentially financial security and stability. when we think about the impact of what conversations, of the outcome of conversations like those today will have, it truly is on the health not only of the community itself, the economy of the community itself, but the health of the people as well. We know that when we don't have income security or stability, we don't have access to the keys that unlock the doors to the things that can make us healthy. Healthy food, opportunities to be physically active, to live in safe environments, all of those things. And beyond that, even the ability to turn off of some of life's stressors, to shut down a little bit. If we're running from one job to the next job, because long gone are the days where we have a family with one job that will keep us in a middle class, we have one family or a partial family with 2, 3, 4 jobs that are just getting by. We don't get to turn that key to turn off the stressors. We don't get to turn that key that allows us to sit down with our kids at dinner and have the conversations, to help them with their homework. We talked about the value of the educational systems in preparation to create jobs, to fill jobs, to be successful in jobs. But we need it on the other end. So the impact of the work today is really to try to increase that stability within that middle class. When I think of middle class, I think of those things that make us secure, right? It's not the luxuries of having access to anything I want, but it's the understanding that I'll have access to everything I need. And that's one of those challenges. So that's why I'm glad to be here representing Marion Public Health and to be co-hosting with the Ohio State University of Marion. I want to, at this point, go ahead. This one I'm going to read because I don't do introductions without reading them. Mine's the forehead. You can see it anyway. It's that big. But I want to get introductions right. So if you'll pardon the forehead for a moment. Dr. Michael B. Drake is the 15th president of the Ohio State University. His focus is on strengthening Ohio State's position as a national flagship public research university through excellence in 5 strategic areas: teaching and learning, access, affordability, and excellence, research and creative expression, academic healthcare, and operational excellence and resource stewardship. During his tenure, the university has seen record highs in applications, graduation rates, academic excellence, diversity, and donor support. Additionally, it has received national recognition for its commitment to teaching and learning, as well as excellence in patient safety and clinical outcomes at the university's Wexner Medical Center. Dr. Drake has been a leader in higher education for nearly 4 decades, serving as Chancellor of the University of California, Irvine for 9 years prior to Ohio State. Under his leadership, UC Irvine became recognized nationally for advancing social justice through higher education and exemplifying environmental stewardship and institutional sustainability. He is a member of the National Academy of Medicine and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. He is chair of the Association of American Universities, chair-elect of the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities, and vice chair of the Big Ten Conference. Dr. Drake also holds leadership roles for the University Innovation Alliance, American Talent Initiative, National Collegiate Athletic Association, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Drake.
Thanks very much, Tom. Very nice to be here. Nice to see the Dean as well. And you know, I come here every year or so, and it's great to see the progress and from things that are in planning or where their cone's up one year, the next year we come, a road is open or a building is up. It's really great to see that. Great to be here with all of you today. Some of you are meeting for the first time and some I've met before. One of the things that's so important to us as a land-grant university is that we are really connected with the people of the state that we are here to serve. And we're now on each year we go on a couple of trips that we call state tours, where we tour around the state and get a chance to see Buckeyes in action doing a variety of things. And so we began today at an elementary school, which was fun to do. Went to one of our hospital partners yesterday. We were at the Wilson Football Factory and at a farm, on a working farm, where actually the students traveling with us about a third of them had never been on an actual working farm. And so it's great to go and see that these things are actually happening, and that's really, really important. In that network of things that we do as a university that are so important to our community and so important to our state, and we hope important even more broadly. The work that we do on this campus is a great example of that. We are founded to be of service to our communities and to educate people from our communities. And we know that at Columbus alone, we can't do all those things. All the ideas don't come from Columbus, all the people aren't in Columbus, and all the good that we can do doesn't take place just in Columbus. And so great to be here today to launch this really important initiative. As I mentioned to Dean, when I was thinking about this campus over the last couple of years, this year, new admissions are up 21% from 2 years ago. We have students from 44 of Ohio's 88 counties, so we tend to think of the regional campuses as being regional, but really the region's quite large. Students here from 44 of our 88 campuses, or 88 counties, excuse me. And the new science and engineering building, which we were here a little bit ago to cut ribbons on, had opened last year, and we've had a 208% increase in new first-year engineering students these last 2 years. So that's great. As you were saying, that the building's had its intended effect. And I remember touring it. I don't know how much time you spent there, but you kind of go in and you want to stay. You know, it feels like you should pull out some test tubes and reagents and learn something. So it's a great place to be. The Alliance for the American Dream leverages these strengths and many others as we are seeking to maximize the impact that we can have on our communities as a 21st century flagship research university. To be really successful, we need to engage a broad range of voices. It's not one of those things where people are doing something, one group of people is doing something for another group of people. It really is everyone working together to try to come up with these great ideas. One of the things that, again, was important to our legacy from the 19th century was to really engage people in thinking of those ideas broadly, and this new alliance is something that focuses on trying to do that on a national level. So I'm really grateful for your interest in participating with us this afternoon. Together, the hope is that we'll build a future based on progress and prosperity for all Ohioans, and actually like to be a role model for the rest of the country in doing that, and I'm very excited about it. Before we let you really get to the work of the afternoon, though, I'd like to introduce Dr. Trevor Brown, and ask you to look at my forehead. And, I love that I don't know which introduction I'm going to get when it starts. I'm usually hoping for a short one. And, but it's fun for me to hear some of the things that people have tended to write down, and to think that some of them, not to be silly, but maybe represent 30-ish years of work, you know, and you get a little checkbox, 30 years, a little checkbox. The one that gets the best reaction generally is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and for that all you have to do is write a check. So it's, just goes to show you. Anyway, and I will say that I mentioned this to someone a day or two ago that but I do enjoy the work with the hall, and I enjoy people suggesting that. There was one mistake in the introduction once that I found exciting, but then regrettably not true. Someone said that I was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I basked in that glory until they corrected themselves. I said, no, I have been in actually the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I bought tickets, with everyone else. Trevor, that took up your introduction time. So. Trevor is the Dean of the John Glenn College of Public Affairs and Executive Director of the State of Ohio Leadership Institute. He specializes in public management and organizational theory and serves as one of the lead faculty members for the Alliance for the American Dream. In just a moment, he's going to share more details about this very exciting project, but before that, we're going to start with a video which will have some which will be able to show us more about this really outstanding endeavor. So if we'll have the video and then Trevor, that'll be great. Thanks, and great to see all of you. Thank you.
The American dream used to be within everyone's reach. If you worked hard, you could make it. You could own your home, save for retirement, go on vacation. The middle class is the backbone of America's economic structure. But for the past 40 years, middle-class families have struggled, falling further and further behind every year.
Many of these families are living paycheck to paycheck, and they're just one emergency away from disaster. It's more and more difficult in our economy to find one job that has the living wage and full benefits to be able to support yourself, and if you have a family, to be able to support them.
Now we need a fresh approach, and that involves your ideas. The Alliance for the American Dream is a community-wide effort led by Ohio State to help middle-class families thrive. It's a partnership that starts with the people in our community and includes Ohio State researchers, students, local leaders, businesses, and nonprofits. Together, we can and will turn the best ideas into research-based action.
This partnership with Schmidt Futures through the Alliance for the American Dream is a tremendous opportunity for Ohio State University. It really takes advantage of our strength that we have as a research university, and we have the depth of the community partnerships that follow in the tradition of our land-grant mission.
The decline of the middle class is a problem that affects Columbus, Ohio, and the entire nation. We simply cannot and will not compete in the world economy if we don't figure out how to get everybody contributing to their maximum ability.
One of the greatest financial stressors on the middle class is the cost of transportation. And here in Central Ohio and Columbus alone, the cost of personal transport by vehicle is almost a third of the household budget.
Affordable housing is one of our top concerns. What can we do as a community to solve these issues? How can we use our big ideas and our big thinking to come together and to rally Columbus, to come up with ideas that move us forward?
The middle class includes the people who teach our children, protect our society, build our roads and homes. We must do better for them. And with your help, we will.
While he's getting that set up, I'll just introduce myself again. I'm Trevor Brown. I'm the Dean of the John Glenn College of Public Affairs at Columbus. And I am one of 4 academic leaders who are from Ohio State overseeing this effort. The other 3 are Elena Irwin, who's from the College Bag and heads up the discovery theme for sustainable and resilient economy. Jay Sayer, who's from the College of Engineering and the Institute for Materials Research, and Randy Smith, the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs at Ohio State. So you've seen and heard from presenters that our focus here is on trying to address challenges facing the middle class. I'm going to tell you a little bit in a minute about the organization that stimulated this, Schmidt Futures, but I'm going to start by putting out a very ambitious target that we've been charged with. And I'm going to say it out loud once, and you're going to take a deep breath and say, really? And then I'm going to say it again, and we're going to figure out how to do it. Our target is to raise the income of 10,000 middle-class families in Ohio communities by 10% by the year 2020. It's about 18 months from now. That is a very, very ambitious challenge, but it is one that we are excited about and are embracing. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here before we break you into what I hope are energetic and dynamic conversations to tell you a little bit about why, give you some background on Schmidt Futures, the organization that has launched the Alliance for the American Dream. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's the motivation here, and then I'm going to walk through the how. Both the how in this room, what we're going to do this afternoon, as well as the how moving forward. What's the process by which we're going to try and move the needle on this target? And I will say that target multiple times, and I'll talk about that process a couple of times, because our experience and having done a couple of these in various places around central Ohio and the state is, what first comes to mind are lots of questions. What's middle income? What does 10% mean? All those kinds of things. So I'll preempt some of those by offering what we know at this moment, and I will say that Schmidt Futures, the organization that is again the initiator of this, is sort of building and flying simultaneously, and we're right there with them. But before I launch into that, I do want to affirm some of the things you've heard already. I am not an expert in this area, and I speak on behalf of myself as a representative of Ohio State University on the Columbus campus. We are by no means here to instruct anyone how to do this or mandate or even just have a big party and celebrate, but rather we're here to partner with all of you, as you heard President Drake and the video and others. We're here to listen and learn. And my guess is, in fact, I'm almost certain looking at the list of attendees, that many of you have been working to address some of these challenges for a long period of time. The people of Marion and Marion County, many of them, just in the brief period of time before this event kicked off, I was listening to some of the struggles that people face. You're already, my guess is, involved in many innovative activities that are going to address this challenge. And so what we are here is to acknowledge some of that work and potentially deliver some resources that will help augment or accelerate or scale up what's already going on. So this is not a, oh wow, we just recognize this is a problem and we're here to fix it. Instead, we've entered into this partnership, and we think that by bringing in as many people as we can, we'll have a better chance of hitting that goal that we've been charged with. So first, the why. Why is this the target? As you saw in the video, middle class or middle income households have been the backbone of the American economy since the post-World War II era. They are the economic sure footing of this country. And the simple view of the American dream, as you heard, is that dream of upward mobility, that individuals and families that play by the rules, that work hard, that invest in themselves, whether that's through education and training, and invest in their communities, will lead to a life that is better than the generation before, the whole notion of the Opportunity Society. But there is a sense, and we saw this represented in the last election, not so much in who won, but rather in the anguish that came out in the election, as well as in the data that we see in terms of economic well-being, et cetera, that there is increased hardship, there is increased economic inequality, and there is decreased social mobility. Just one anecdotal piece of data, 30% of Americans in the income range between $50,000 to $75,000 a year don't believe that they would be able to raise $2,000 within 30 days to deal with an emergency, whether that be a medical emergency, a transportation issue, if a car broke down, etc. According to the U.S. Census, the median household income in 2016, the last year for which we have credible data, was about $55,000. And the reality is that's the middle, but that varies dramatically across the country, and it varies here in Ohio. In Ohio, the average income, the median income, is about $50,000. Now, 40 years ago, in the late 1960s, early 1960s, late 1950s, Ohio was 9% above the national average in terms of income. We are now 9% below. So Ohio is a state in which there has been a steady decline in the state of the middle class. Here in Marion, the median income is about $35,000, which reflects the great differentiation within the state. So 50,000 is that middle. That means there are places where the income is above. Marion happens to be one where it's below. Highest concentration of poverty in Marion, according to the census, is women in the age bracket from 35 to 44, followed closely by those in, again, women in the 18 to 24 age bracket. Many of those single women living with children. So there's also variability among demographic groups and, who's struggling. So this data and this sense of decline is what's driven this enterprise, Schmidt Futures. And the name Schmidt is one that perhaps doesn't jump to mind in the way that, say, Gates does, but it's of a similar category. Eric Schmidt is the former CEO of Google, now Alphabet, who was in the philanthropic phase of his life. He was fortunate to raise a large amount of personal wealth, and he is now committed to giving that back. And his area of focus is to try and shore up the middle class. He sees this as an existential threat facing the nation. And so he is the one, and his enterprise, Schmidt Futures, is the one that has launched this endeavor to try and address some of those things I just mentioned. And it is a partnership with 3 other universities in addition to Ohio State. Those 3 others are the University of Utah, Arizona State University, and the University of Wisconsin. Just pause and let those sink in for a minute. Those aren't 4 universities that we often typically think of together. They're not the Big Ten. They're not necessarily 4 universities that all jump to mind. And they, in light of the challenge we're facing, they don't, when we think about the challenge and solutions, we often think about certain regions of the country. You can hear there's a spread there. They're also notable in that they don't come from the East Coast. This is not right out of the sort of New York area where we think of often when we think of policy debates around these things. And it's also not Silicon Valley, where Eric Schmidt is located. And often there we get the, well, let's apply the solutions of the Bay Area to the rest of the country. On the contrary, Eric Schmidt said we need to go to places around the country to address the diversity of challenges that communities are facing. So we are working in partnership to some degree with these other 3 universities, but also, as you're going to hear, a little bit in competition. There's a little bit of a Hunger Games element into this endeavor, and I'm going to now pivot into talking about what that means. I'm going to talk about the how. You heard me say that challenge. I'm going to say it again. We've been tasked by Schmidt Futures in this Alliance for the American Dream to, again, raise the incomes of 10,000 middle-class families here in Ohio by 10% by the year 2020. Now, let's begin to answer some of those questions that percolate into people's mind. What does middle income mean? Well, Schmidt Futures hasn't told us. We get to decide what that means. You saw some, if you were here at the beginning, you saw some slides flipping by that showed you a range of incomes. It's around that $50,000 mark, give or take, with a band around that, if you look at just median income. That 10% could be an increase in revenues coming in or a decrease in costs faced by those households, or some combination of the two. So it's a mix of solutions that could, again, be enhancing the resources that people have available to them by new money coming into their households, or finding ways to lower the costs that they face as they struggle to maintain their existence. So the how is trying to conjure up ideas, solutions to move that needle. We are eager to hear from all of you about, first off, what you see as those challenges. What are those impediments that middle-class families are facing? And then what are ideas, solutions that we think could address some of those challenges? There is a timeline that I'm going to lay out now, and I'm going to lay out again at the end when we close up. But I think having this set of dates in your mind will be helpful to think, oh, this is what we're shooting for. So we launched a website about 2 weeks ago that is the entry point for idea submission. We're looking for ideas to help meet this challenge, this challenge that I laid out. That website will be open until July 15th. It's a relatively easy form to fill out. You'll see you could even do it on your cell phone. I'm doing it here because it's in my pocket. And it's small text box of sort of several hundred words. You don't need to think of this as a big formal application. So it's really an opportunity to get an idea out there, specify how it meets that challenge, talk through what are some of the partnerships that are necessary to fulfill it, but it's not a full-blown kind of research proposal. From that process of idea submission, there are a group of us combining both academic players as well as community members who will select 10 ideas from that initial wave of submissions for further concept development. We have a grant given to us from Schmidt Futures to invest in those ideas in the form of developing the ideas, creating a more fulsome proposal. So we can give up to $50,000 per idea, per one of those ideas that comes in, to support teams to further develop those concepts. In November of this year, we will take that 10 and select 3 of them to move forward to what amounts to, and this is the Hunger Games part, a competition with those other 3 universities. So the University of Utah is going through a similar process, Arizona State University is going through a similar process, and the University of Wisconsin is going through a similar process. So 12 ideas will come forward, 3 from each region, And then Schmidt Futures, our central partner, will pick 1 to 2 of those ideas from each of the university partners. And they will receive $4 to $6 million of investment to now bring those ideas to fruition, to begin to implement those ideas. After more development, among those 4 to 6 ideas that come out, there will be another round of competition. And the winner, and they anticipate there will be 1 to 2 ideas that will make it to that final round, will receive investment of $50 to $100 million. So it's a remarkable opportunity to really infuse some resources into things that hopefully are scalable. 10,000 families here in Ohio is a lot, but you can see that this is envisioned to be much bigger than that, to move the needle on this challenge. But at Ohio State University, as you heard, our mission is not simply to meet the demands of a donor here. Our interest is in really addressing these issues in the community. So Provost Bruce McPherson has also pledged to put forward up to $500,000 from the university to go beyond that 2020 date. We know that there will be a lot of ideas that come out of this exercise, hopefully many of them surfaced in this room here today, that will be worthy of moving beyond just that date, even if they don't meet the test of that competition I just described. So our commitment is to try and find ways to align what the university is doing with what the community here and across the state are doing to make investments that fulfill what President Drake said so well. It's a land-grant mission to serve the state and its communities. So today, our goal is to introduce you to this process, get you excited about the process of idea generation, identify some of those challenges, and begin to brainstorm solutions. So already, I'm sure as you saw the video and you've heard a little bit about it, and subconsciously you're already starting to percolate things, and you all know perhaps from your own personal experience, there are lots of challenges that families and individuals face in the middle class. You heard transportation, there are housing issues, there are healthcare issues, there are any number of challenges that people face. In a minute, we're going to turn it over to all of you and your tables to begin to surface what those challenges are, what are those impediments. And then afterwards, after we go through an exercise of talking through those challenges, then we're going to go through an exercise of starting to think about what those solutions are. And at the outset, we, and as part of the Alliance, have identified sort of 2 pathways, 2 very broad pathways that we're thinking of. The first are those who are outside of the middle class, who are on the threshold of moving up, think of that upward mobility, that could benefit from some infusion of resources or some reduction in cost that would allow them to move into the middle class. That's one pathway we're looking for. The second pathway is those who are on the sort of the cusp of falling out of the middle class. One divorce or healthcare emergency away from slipping into a more challenging economic existence. So those are the 2 pathways, and I say that intentionally to focus us more on that. You know, the middle class is a wide band. We're on that, how do we get more people in and how do we keep people from slipping out? Then, in terms of not just pathways, but the kinds of solutions, we've identified 3 broad categories of solutions. Ones are those focused on individuals and households, solutions that are directed at people. The second are those that are directed at communities, that may be community-wide solutions, but have a disseminating impact across those communities. And the third are through employers and other organizations that people are connected to, but principally employers. So there's likely a set of solutions around the places where people work or might work. We say that in a suggestive way, not as an illustrative, rather than as something to say, well, how do I fit my solution into one of those buckets? Let us fret about that. For you, it was more just to get you thinking about the way we've envisioned this challenge. So at this point, for the next hour and a half or so, we're gonna hear from you. We're gonna hear from you in your groups, and ThoughtWell is an organization we're working with, a Columbus-based research organization. You'll see representatives from ThoughtWell at your table. Their job is to facilitate that conversation of, number one, identifying those challenges that middle-class families are facing, and then number two, charting that process of solutions. At the end of this, I'll come back up, we'll put the timeline up again, all those things I just said, I'll repeat just so you have it in your mind. And by all means, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I have the distinct honor of being the 2,296th Brown at Ohio State University. It's a very exclusive club, so I'm brown.2296 at osu.edu. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to your facilitators at your table. And the final word is a thank you for all of you coming out to spend all of your precious time with us today. Just the fact that you're here is a reflection of your commitment to help with this exciting opportunity. So thanks.
Hello everybody. My name is Lynette. I'm the person with ThoughtWell that got elected to be at your table. I was going to say, or I can No. Not here. As long as we do something person about it. Is that okay? Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. One thing to keep in mind, we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll try to do our best. And we'll do our best to make sure that we can all hear. The acoustics aren't great in the room. Because my name is Lynette. I work for ThoughtWell, we're a nonprofit